Hello, good evening. We have a surprise video. I actually recorded this before and then I was editing it and I hated how I recorded it. So let me try this again. Or not how I recorded, but how I explained things. Let's talk about skill-based matchmaking. So we got some additional information from the devs, adding to what the data miners found a couple weeks or months back, as far as how matchmaking ratings are earned or lost. So, what the data miners found initially was it had a range of players from 1100 to 1900, and a survivor's MMR was based on how often they survived the match. Killers was based off of how many kills they got in a match, and they thought that it was also relative to the time spent in the match, with about 9 to 10 minutes as the sweet spot. Time apparently is irrelevant. Didn't matter. What did matter that the devs elaborated on was the order in which a survivor dies. Because MMR is basically a prediction system. It will attempt to put you with players who are similar of score, but you are going to encounter players who have not the exact same score, right? Some are going to have slightly higher, slightly lower. If they're swift, there's a chance for somebody to be extremely high or extremely low. And as a result, the MMR system will gamble on you and predict that you are, your number is lower than the player you're going against. And it thinks you're going to lose. However, if you win against that player, you're going to actually gain more MMR than if they were just like a little bit better than you, right? Same way as if somebody's just a little bit worse than you and you beat them, it was to be expected, and you're going to lose about the most MMR that you could lose for that match, which is, they said, about 20 points to gain or lose per MMR, so it's really not a lot. And it's weighted like I'm talking about now. But if somebody's a lot worse than you, if you're going against like a baby who just got the game and they're playing with a friend, so they happen to get matched with you, if you beat them, the game was like, yeah, you were supposed to do that. We expected it, so you're not going to gain as much MMR. And that makes sense. I like that they do have it weighted. That's how an MMR system should work. And that's good. They explained that it's the win and losses though. And this is where everybody's getting up in arms and really bothered by it. So, a win, let me just say, the killer and survivor matches are viewed as a 1v1. Essentially, every survivor has a 1v1 with the killer, and the killer has 4 1v1s going on at a time. So, with that, the issue that everybody has is a win for the survivor is surviving by leaving through the exit gate. A win for the killer is by killing a survivor by any means. If a survivor exits through hatch, that is, they determined that was a matter of luck and not skill, so it became a null factor. The killer does not lose MMR, the survivor does not gain MMR. It just doesn't matter. That's a win streak, right? That's just what people have been doing for years. When they want to test their skill at the game, they go on a win streak. For killer, it's trying to get a 4K and sometimes a 3K with hatch. They still count as a win. Obviously, everybody has different criteria they set for themselves for a win streak, but that's one of the most common rules. And then for survivor, obviously, it's escaping. And we often consider players who would do these personal challenges as high skilled, especially if like they did it well. If they went on streaks, Otstarva doing 100 streak on Plague, like the win streaks were an indication of a high skilled player. However, I think it stands to reason that people also considered them high skilled because they weren't just always, how do I put this? One of the concerns people have for the MMR is that somebody can just not do anything in the match. Survivor could do not anything in the match, right? And then their whole team dies, killer closes hatch, and just because the gates are far enough apart and it's on Crotus Pren, the killer can't check on both gates in time, and that survivor gets out and they gain MMR and they didn't do anything. So I think when people previously would go on a win streak as a survivor, they were actually doing stuff because they know to survive most of their matches, they need to contribute because the more survivors that are in the match, the better their odds are. Same with as a killer when they're going on like a 4 streak win or 4K win streak, they know that just camping to get a kill isn't the way to do it because the rest of the team's just gonna fucking leave. And they would actually go and interact. With this system, people are still rewarded for doing those behaviors. Now, the dev team did say that for face camping in particular, they are looking into possible options with no promises, right? Those people are still rewarded for those behaviors, and I think that is a flaw. If we call it skill-based matchmaking, people are joking already about calling it escape-based matchmaking, which is fair, and I think I've heard results-based matchmaking, I've heard win-based matchmaking. I think these are inherently actually better names because when people hear skill-based matchmaking and they think of that scenario of a basement camping Bubba is gaining more MMR than me, who is trying my hardest with demo, but I can't do more than a 2K. But Bubba, people are diving into the basement, he gets a 4K every match, right? Or Nia urban evasioned around the entire map. The killer never saw her. I opened the gate, he downed me, and she just crawled her way out. Like, well, not crawled, but like crouched her way out. And people are mad because they're saying the system's saying that that player is more skilled than me, and I know they're not. And I get that. And I wish more people would understand that a robotic system is never, with how simplified Dead by Daylight has created it, that system is never gonna know who's the most skilled player. There are things that I think they could add or make it better, but oh man, that I get that hurts for people. It doesn't hurt for me because I don't care. But I know there are people, and I don't know how to say this, and I want to be kind when I say it because I think it is a genuine issue with a lot of games. People put a lot of personal value on how skilled they are in a game, I guess. Um, a lot of people will gauge at least part of their personal worth in how they are measured in their game performance. And I do think that is an issue that a lot of gamers have. And I don't think calling a system skill-based matchmaking when it doesn't measure skill to be good for that mental health concern I have, I guess. I think that's an issue. And I would like to see the name changed to like win-based matchmaking. Or if they just want to purely call it MMR, but be very specific, it's not a reflection of skill, and people will then know how to raise their MMR. People will know that they need to get kills to raise their MMR. They need to leave by exit gate to raise their MMR. And they'll learn because you'll get that Nia who says, I can urban evasion everywhere and I will escape from through the exit gate most of the time. Their MMR will go up. They'll eventually get to matches where that does not work, and they will learn that they need to participate in the game to help most of their team make it to the end because that increases their personal odds. And that's something people just learn with experience, right? So people who want high MMR can go after it when they know what contributes to it. And Oh, what else do I want to say? But that's my biggest concern. I think it's the fact that it's just called skill based when we know that just getting a kill or just surviving does not mean skill. And I would like to see that changed. Now, that said, um there's a couple of other things that I would like to see changed about it. And that is it's compared to Survivor because of the nature of playing Survivor and it being a team based and how you're reliant on your team and how you need your team to survive, it's too easy as killer to gain MMR compared to Survivor. And as a result, we're seeing it with a lot of the higher tier killers. I can watch Coconut, he's in a queue for forever if he's on Huntress. It puts too many killers at the top with not enough survivors to play with. And the queue times I think are the worst part. But then what makes it even worse, and behavior needs to do something about it so fast. And I'm glad that I play so casually. I'm not this high yet that it hasn't been an issue for me. But I understand it's an issue for some players, and it's a bad issue. Hackers. The higher you get, the more hackers there are. I was watching a stream of Coconuts today where he had, in 2 hours of play, 5 hackers almost back to back. Like, I think 3 of them were back to back in a match. And the match that I left him on, he ended up playing other games because the hacker was holding the game hostage. It wasn't just like the annoying hackers who come in, finish all the gens in 1 minute, and then give you an infinite stun and blind and then leave. They were quite literally holding the game hostage, preventing it from ending. When I left, he was in it for like an hour and 20 minutes in that match, just on the pause menu. He was playing Dead by Roblox and CSGO, and like that's such an issue that before behavior even addresses maybe fine tuning the skill based matchmaking or MMR system, they need to deal with the hackers. It's a problem. It can't stand. Um, it's oh God, I don't know. It's just a tragic issue that is so stupid. I can't believe people actually hack this game. They're so dumb. Um, what else was I gonna say? Oh, and then the other issue with it is again because a survivor just escaping doesn't really indicate skill. I think either survivor, I think the weighting needs to be changed for killer versus survivor. For how much people earn and lose for the game. I think it just needs to be adjusted a little bit. But I think for survivor, they need to add a data point to the game. I don't know what that is though, is the issue. I don't know if that it seems reasonable to say that chase time should be added as a data point. Um, so if you, let's say you're a survivor, you run the killer for all 5 gens. So you're running them for about 5 minutes, right? And then you die in the end. And since you're the first die, you lose the most MMR. I think if they added a data point that says you were in chase for this amount of time, and between this minute and this minute is when you took a health state, and this minute and this other minute is when you took another health state, um, and weighted it so you didn't lose the maximum for dying, because there is a difference between somebody and but I don't know also because it can definitely vary with like like going against a Bubba versus a nurse, right? Nurse is obviously a better killer, but it takes 2 hits for her to knock you down. Bubba can just, if he gets you at the right corner, you're done. Like, so going down in 1 hit to Bubba doesn't mean you're less skilled than somebody who goes down to nurse in the same amount of time with 2 hits, right? Um, so I don't know, man. I think it's a very complicated system. I hope that they visited a little bit to fine tune some things because I definitely do see some problems with it. That said, here's my wildly unpopular opinion. I'm having a great time. I'm loving it. If they don't ever change it, I think I'm going to be happy with my personal matches. I'm not happy other people aren't happy or having as good of matches as I'm having, but I'm hoping that it does get better for people as the matches even out. And I really hope that more people start to understand that their skill in the game cannot be measured by this game at all. It wasn't measurable before with rank. People acted like it was. It wasn't. But even more so now, your skill cannot be measured in this game effectively, and you're never gonna have a number that tells you you're better than somebody else. We, because even if we ever did see our actual MMRs, we know it's not true. So I think if people can get kind of out of their own heads about knowing whether or not they're more skilled than other players and just play to have fun for them personally, setting personal goals, I think that would help. But I know that's a really big ask for thousands of people to take on for a hobby that people have always, like, we've had high scores since the 80s. People have always been trying to be the best, and some people have fun being the best. Like that is how they have fun, and I acknowledge that. Um, but I think it is important to acknowledge that getting a high score in Pac-Man or the highest score in Pac-Man is a more definitive measure of your skill compared to others than Dead by Daylight's skill-based matching, skill-based matchmaking and MMR. And I think ascribing your personal value as a player or your personal skill as a player to the system they created is not healthy. And I hope people learn to understand that and then just find other ways to either challenge themselves as a player to have fun and measure their own skill on a personal level, or I don't know, get to a place where they're like me and like just live each match as its own and consider like, oh, that match went really well, that match didn't go so well, this match went great, and just not view it as a holistic means of how they are as a player. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. I can make follow-up videos, I guess. Let me know your thoughts about skill-based matchmaking in the comments. Are you actually enjoying, like, I feel a lot of my matches are definitely more fair. It's only when I have a really long queue time that I notice a significant disparity of skill level between me and myself and other players. Are you experiencing the same, or are you feeling like it's no different than it was with rank-based matchmaking, or do you feel like you're sweating constantly, or that you just don't have to try it all and you're always surviving or getting kills? Like, how is it going for you? Because I am interested in hearing other views. While I'm having a great time, I know other people aren't. So yeah, that's all. I'm gonna leave you guys with this. It's been long enough. It's almost 20 minutes. So yeah, I will talk to you guys later in the fog. Bye.